Aloha and welcome. Today, what I want to do is to have another conversation about teachability, the attitude that's required of awakening, for self revelation, because it is very specific. It's not natural to those of us who have immersed ourselves in misidentification. And it's so important that I'm noticing from a teaching perspective because we have such a clear example of what it means to be teachable. And as you know, our entire mission at Exploring Consciousness is the fast, direct path. How can we make this way easy for those who are walking, returning as the prodigal, so to speak, walking the way of self illumination now and until it's no longer required? How can we make that easier? How can we make that more direct? How can we make it more clear? Because what we're talking about when it comes to self realization, self discovery, self realization, and restoring God consciousness is simply healing perception. We suffer from nothing more than a perceptual issue. And so, what I'm noticing is that there is a very specific attitude. Of course, it's part of our conversations about being teachable, but I want to share this with you because if you're ready to hear what's required, you can know the kingdom of heaven now. Heaven is a now thing. It's not a die into place. It's not in the future. It is the present reality in God consciousness, in pure consciousness, in deliberate conscious awareness of truth. It's right here, closer than breath, nearer than our hands and feet. The kingdom of heaven is within. And so there are a couple of very standout attitudes that Tom displays and shares all the time for us, and I want to share them with you. Being willing to see everything differently is number one. And why is this so important? Because we see everything squonk. The way that we see anything and everything is built on an assumption and therefore it's incorrect. Despite the fact that we might think that we see clearly, we absolutely do not. If we see otherness, if we see multiplicity, if we are seeing through darkened glasses, which includes the perception of there being suffering, struggle, lack, limitation, and wanting, we are not seeing clearly. We have a perceptual issue, an issue of awareness. And so being willing to see everything differently is not only suggested and advisable, but necessary. Being willing to see everything differently. Because everything in truth is perfection, is good. There is nothing bad that even exists in truth. How willing are we to see everything differently? We often speak to this in terms of how open-minded are you? Because any aspect of closed-mindedness is an open mind. It isn't open-minded if you are not willing to question everything that you think you see. And we've got to come to terms with this because you can only know the truth from the position of the truth. This is the catch of having the kingdom of heaven in awareness as experience, fully fleshed out, manifested, and tangible. It is in knowing that I am the truth. You can only know the truth from being the truth. You can't study something intellectually and know it without being it to get the full experience, can you? We often speak to, intellectual study as an example. I could study everything that there is to know about Eskimos. Not sure why I use that example, but I do. I could study Eskimos since The first word was written about them and know everything more than anyone on the face of the planet, so to speak. But do I really know what it's like to be an Eskimo without being an Eskimo? No. You can't know about the truth. You can only be the truth, which is really what this comes down to. And unless we are willing to see everything differently, the most obvious fact of life, which is God consciousness, which is perfection, remains somewhat veiled. So being willing to see everything differently, we can use this because we can now see what aren't we willing to see differently and spot the imposter, spot the erroneous assumption behind everything that is causing us discomfort, causing us suffering, causing us pain, so to speak. It obviously can't. There is only one issue that remains the obstacle to perfect peace, and that is the belief that I'm something that I'm not. Now, whilst that sounds simple and easy, it really is, but there is a very specific way of realizing what it is that I seek in the highest possible way, and that is being willing to see everything differently. Now, the demonstration that we have in our group by Tom is that he is so filled with grace in being willing to see everything differently. Why? I can promise you I grill him so that what he's demonstrating we can all learn from. I feel so incredibly humbled to have Tom in this conversation, which of course is just a game of consciousness, shining so brightly for us all to see. What else is it that he's doing? Well, he has decided that everything is for him. So let's hang out there a little bit and grasp this concept. It was Einstein who said, the most important decision that you will ever make is whether you live in a friendly universe or an unfriendly one. Now, that's probably not verbatim, but that was the gist of it. Do you live in a friendly universe or an unfriendly one? And as you know, several years ago, what came to me was a bit of an upgrade and update of that insight, which is the most important decision you can ever make is whether a problem is possible or not. And it is this that Tom also has embraced like nothing else. There's nothing wrong. There is no such thing as a problem. I'm willing to see everything differently because if I perceive that there is a problem, it's just an issue of ignorance. It's just an issue of awareness. That's not really a problem, is it? It's just that I don't seem to have all the facts. That's why judgment is a symptom of misidentification, a characteristic of ego. It doesn't exist in truth. There is absolutely no right, wrong, good, bad in truth. That's just a symptom of ego. Judgment has already been made and everything is good. What God made is good, and what wasn't made by God never was, never is. So that which is called evil is really just a lack of true awareness remedied by true awareness. Another way to say that is there is no problem. Problems cannot exist. It is just an issue of awareness. So when we get about trying to fix problems, solve problems, micromanage the world so it looks a certain way for us because that's how it needs to look based on what we've judged, we're completely off. The journey of self-revelation is one of walking within to the kingdom of heaven that is your very own consciousness. The kingdom of heaven is pristine, pure, unfettered, unbound, unhindered, no obstacles exist consciousness. Perception that is of the world and appearances and multiplicity and people is just an issue of misunderstanding, misperception. And so being highly teachable is the only attitude that will lead you all the way on this journey of self-revelation. Being willing to see everything differently because the view from truth has no relationship, bears no relationship to the view through darkened glasses, to the view that includes a personal reality. They are not similar. One does not exist, and only one is real. So we've got two really important points here: being willing to see everything differently and recognizing that there's no such thing as a problem. What's in the way, so to speak, what I'm facing right now is from me, it's for me. Not only is it about me and to me, but it is me. What we're only ever and always experiencing is not a world that is separate. There is nothing that seems to be on the outside of my eyes that has independent existence, as we know from not only spiritual truth, but science. We can't continue to play a game that doesn't exist. There is no objective world. Everything is my awareness in images. There's no inside and outside. There is only the one thing. What is here right now is from me and for me. And so this epic demonstration that is raising everyone up needs to be clearly identified so that you can continue to do the fishing, as we often say. We're here to teach you to fish, not do the fishing for you. No one can do that. It's your job to accept the truth. And the way that it is walked swiftly to the height and never-ending realms of heavenly experience is being willing to see everything differently, is recognizing that there is no problem, and of course, accepting the truth of what I am. That is the caveat always in true and authentic spiritual revelation and spiritual teachings. It's accepting the truth of what it is that I am, not accepting that I am a broken sausage, that I'm in a pickle, that I'm in a really tricky situation, and I need to be pulled out of that, that something needs to happen in order for that to be fixed. That's impossible. The way out of the impossible situation is realizing you were never in it. You can't be in an impossible situation. We've got to engage the thinking function that we have. Ultimately, thinking it comes after what it is that I am. It's not relevant. It's ultimately not helpful. It serves a different purpose than the one that we've given it. Thinking dominates the egoic worldly realm, but thinking is entirely optional in truth, just an avenue of divine creation. And so it's really vital that we embrace fully the attitude. Of course, there's a stack more in our Being Teachable workbook, but these are the two that really come back over and over again, time and time again, being willing to see differently and accepting that it's just not possible that there's a problem. These are decisions that you make and live by, that you must make and live by, because there's no such thing as a you that will be rescued or even needs rescuing. Your consciousness is divine, infinite, omniscience. You are one with the purity of consciousness that we call God, that we call life, that we call creation. There's no right word. There's no word to describe the indescribable. As Lao Tzu said, if you can label it, that's not it. So we're wanting to always look at what makes it easier for me to look at cause, as cause, from cause, with cause. Let me look within. It is the withinness where we want to anchor. It is the withinness that is the reference point of experience, because awareness and experience are exactly the same thing. There is no random going on, which is how it is that we can walk all the way to the truth of being one. Oneness is reality and nothing else is. So just to recap, because these are so important: willingness to see differently. Willingness to see everything differently, bar nothing. There's such a liberation if you're willing to see everything differently, knowing that there's not a problem to be found in truth. The issue is that I've been unwilling to see things differently, that I have accepted how I see things as some kind of fact, as some kind of reality, as something that is fixed and unchangeable. The truth is, there's only one fixed and one unchangeable truth of life. And therein lies the peace of God. Therein lies the kingdom of heaven. We are to look at that which is unchanging, timeless, in fact. But let's stick with unchanging. The unchanging factor is always I. So if you want to know the truth of being one in God, not just to think about it, not just to have it floating around the intellect as some kind of torturous dangling carrot that you can never quite reach. This is how you do it. Willing to see everything differently, being epically teachable, and accepting that there's no such thing as a problem. It's just misperception. Everything that looks like a problem is just ignorance. And what Tom does in a way that brings us all to our knees and tears quite often is so humbly stand in this willingness to see everything differently and the recognition that there is no problem, with an organic eruption of love that just pours forth as a consequence. How can you not have this love and reverence for the truth of being perfection, for the truth of perfect being, for the truth that is oneness and God consciousness? The love of God, of course, is what's being said in commandment number 1. You can have no other love for God. You are walking this way with single-minded focus in the love of God, for the love of God, as the love of God, as self-love, instead of personal self-love, which we know all too well in the world of ego. Everything is about this self-centered self, this personal self, and its whims and pleasures. Self-love is one love, all love, and there is no differentiation. There is no special love. It's organic when you recognize, why is there no problem? Because you are so loved. You are love itself. There is only unconditioned, unopposed love, not the kind of love that humans use when they say, I love you, I love this, till death do us part love, or unless you piss me off beforehand and I'll divorce you. Not that kind of love, but a love that is all-inclusive, a love that is so divine it cannot be comprehended. It's not meant to be comprehended. God's ways are beyond human ways. And God is all that there is. God being life, that which is the back of all, that which is behind everything, that which you are, the awareness that you are, not what you are aware of that's captivated your attention. And so when we really embrace and apply, I'm willing to see differently, there are no problems. This is going to be extremely useful in recognizing the straight and narrow, because truth is black and white. Truth is something we can access and actually align with now, here. Heaven is here and now, and all of the obstacles that prevent us from knowing the kingdom of heaven, which is at hand, nearer than breath, closer than hands and feet, is what we are hanging on to in perception. Consciousness is the only thing going on. Individual awareness is your business. And the way that you cleanse awareness of everything that is false, another way to say that is there is nothing to get rid of, but simply look to the truth, is with epic willingness to see everything differently and recognizing there's no problem. These are decisions only you can make. And the truth isn't going to come and grab you and pick you up. The truth is organically realized in the absence of ego, in the absence of misidentification, which you will only see if you're willing to see things differently. So let's just reflect on this. Of course, we'll raise all the other aspects that we speak to in our teachability workbook for as long as you want to. Let's take a moment or two to contemplate this, and then we'll come back and answer any questions.